the Week 3 After Hours Gaming League matchup between Factset and Storm8. Both teams are 2-0, undefeated going into this week, so I guess only one will be afterward. I'm Adam the Eclectic Gamer Pitzer, and joining me as always is Chris Max Sparrow Johnson. How's it going, Max?
Good. How are you, Adam?
Doing awesome. Excited for this one. Juggernauts colliding.
Me too. It's been fun watching Factset. I'm excited to see how this week turns out.
So, just so you guys know, I am an employee and member of the Factset team, so I will try not to be too biased, and I'm going to let Max keep me honest there. And you also might hear a little more about Team Factset. So, that being said, first we're going to talk about the picks and bans. So, Factset is on the blue side, Storm8 is on the purple side. So, Factset's bans were Jinx, LeBlanc, and Amumu. Now, looking through some of the history of the Storm8 players, I actually didn't see too many games of each of those. They might have just been specific things that were going to mess with the Factset strategy, or they weren't necessarily the high pick people. I didn't see too many anyone with maybe over 20 games of anyone in particular on an ADC for Storm8. So maybe Jinx was just a particularly problematic, and LeBlanc is pretty strong right now.
Yeah, all these champions are pretty strong right now. They just aren't frequently banned, so it's a little bit unusual, but not that strange.
Yep. How about on the Storm8 side? On
Storm8, we got bans of Fiddlesticks, Kassadin, and Draven. And the Fiddlesticks, that is definitely targeted at the player on Factset, Eternal King. Their jungler has played over 400 games with Fiddlesticks last season, so...
It's just ranked. I assume he's played more in normal.
Yeah,
well.
He's played a lot of Fiddlesticks, so Storm8 definitely did the research there and banning that out. He also banned Kassadin, who is just a standard ban. You know, everybody...
Especially for purple side. Blue side, you don't have to ban him because you can pick him first.
Exactly, there you go. So purple side is always banning Kassadin. And then Draven, I maybe targeted at the 80 carry of Factset because I had saw that one of the players on Factset played quite a few games with Draven. But I think he's not actually playing 80 carry this game.
That's correct. That's one of the interesting things about After Hours Gaming League. It's it's 5 players from the same team, but what they play in solo queue might not necessarily be what they're playing on the team. So Astrum QT had over 100 games with Draven in Season 3, but I believe he's actually playing top lane this time. So it can be difficult to find out. I also believe, looking at some of this, it was really difficult to see for Storm8 as well. Who would be playing in which lane? A bunch of people had support games. A bunch of people had mid games. So, like, one player had played a ton of games on Ahri. That was Sleeper Fox. Short Round had played a ton of games on Kayle and Nidalee. And Mr. K had played a ton of games on Anivia. So one of them is going to be the mid laner, but you don't know who it is. So banning out any one of those might be wasted bans. If you ban out Nidalee and Short Round is not playing mid, it's not going to matter. I think that's kind of what happened to Storm8 here in the ban phase.
That's a good point. That's a good point, yeah.
So, going to the picks, Factset started off by first picking Yasuo, who is a very interesting pick right now. I'll also be interested to see if they pick anyone to help him out with the knockups, because he's got his own Q knockup, but it's not the most reliable knockup in the world. Because you have to actually charge up that Q on hitting people, and it actually degrades really quickly. I don't know how much you've tried him out, Max, but it's...
I understand that. I haven't played him too much, but yeah, he's a very strong pick right now. He's frequently banned in solo queue, so we'll see how that one works out. After that, Storm8 picked Kayle and Caitlyn, both just kind of strong standard picks.
Yeah, Kayle's been seeing a lot of competitive play in the mid lane, but she's a wild card. You have no idea where she's going to go. She can play any position. Jungle, support, ADC, mid, top. You have no idea.
That's true.
Which really makes it a really good pick early in your pick phase because it leaves the other team guessing what's going to happen. So that after that, Factset went with Vi and Tristana. So the Vi is really great with Yasuo because her Q and her ultimate both knock up. So Yasuo can ult off of that. And Tristana is just something that Zazamesh from Factset has been playing quite a bit. I believe he played both preseason games and in week 1. And I think he was saying he started to draw bans for it last season pretty early in the season. So
Wow.
it's not surprising to see, especially if they saw some of the early games.
Yeah. All right. On purple side, we got Shyvana and Annie. So for Storm 8, I would think that it would probably be right now. I'd see a Shyvana top and Annie support. Annie's been such a hot pick for support lately.
Oh yeah.
And Shyvana's just one of those standard top laners.
Yeah, those are both really strong meta picks. I mean, we saw Annie in the mid against Factset last game. This is really a team of wild cards because Shyvana can go top or jungle. Kayle can go anywhere. Annie can go support or mid. This is really it's really hard to read right now. Obviously, I know what all the picks and bans were, but it gets crazy. We thought it was Annie support last week too. So then finally, Factset goes with Leona and Teemo. Extendo Hugs did really great on Leona last week, and I've actually seen them playing Teemo quite a bit in the Factset's practice games. So he's rough. I mean, Cloud9 played him in the NALCS, and those mushrooms get really crazy if you build a lot of AP. Like, you just walk into one and it can take a ton of your damage. But he's a very odd pick. But some people aren't ready for him, and can just be really annoying. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then finally, what do we get for Storm 8?
Storm 8's last pick was Nivea, so that pretty much reveals it's probably going to be a Nivea mid. And then, I don't know, it's still hard to tell whether Shyvana or Kayle would be jungle.
That you could go either way. It's really not
support.
Yeah. Anivia mid's pretty likely, so Mr. K is going to be playing in the mid, and I'd give it a toss up as to who's in the jungle at that point. I honestly, this is one of my favorite strategies that I wish people would do more. Is like there's a bunch of champions out there who are fitting a lot of roles in competitive play. Gragas mid or jungle, Shyvana top or jungle, Annie could be mid or support, and Kayle wherever. And it's really interesting to see how a pick and ban phase goes when you have no idea who's going to be where. I don't know. It's just very fun to see.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun. It's hard to tell when you're casting of what's going to go where.
All right, but we'll see here as soon as we see some of the. Whoever has Smite, that will at least tell us who's going to be in the jungle, hopefully. Unless they're going really off meta.
Yeah.
But that being said, let's go ahead and get into the game and get started. Alright, there we go. Got it playing there. Sorry, I got a little off. So, looking for the Smite, it looks like we have Shyvana in the jungle. So, yeah. I guess that means we're going to have Kayle top.
Yeah, I would think so. We'll have Kayle top and
still not 100% sure.
Right, we can't really tell for sure, but that's what I would expect. And I think maybe they would want to try to lane swap because Teemo would probably much prefer to play against Kayle than against Nivea. But I'm guessing they would.
I mean, Yasuo can go mid or top as well. Yeah. So they could try to switch it up here, but they might lose a little bit in the exchange.
Ooh, we got an invade coming from red side. Storm 8's coming in. Oh, they found Leona, but there's no CC to follow up.
Annie's not there. Annie's got her stun charge, but it looks like she wasn't close enough. Yeah, if you want, that's kind of a tough choice on Annie sometimes. If you want to charge your stun, you go with the W, but it doesn't have as long a range. But it can work really well for the invade, especially if the other team groups up and you get a big group stun on them. But looks like Storm 8 just back off. And looks like we won't see any action just yet.
Yeah, it looks like they're prepared for another invade, and they're fine staying in their side of the jungle here. For starting items, we got Doran's items mostly on Factset side, pretty standard. Teemo is building AP, so that's pretty notable to start, but yeah, not unlikely, I guess. It's fairly typical.
So it looks like Anivia is she's probably going for an early tier by getting that, what's it called, little locket, Fairy Charm.
Fairy Charm, yeah.
And we'll also note that Annie didn't go with a Doran Shield. Doran Shield is very popular even on Annie, just to survive that early harass, but she will get a gold advantage here. So she's going to either have to be very careful about taking damage, or she might be forced back early.
Yeah, I think there are a couple reasons for that. You know, the if you get the Doran shield, you don't get any mana regen. The coin gives her 3 mana regen, which is really useful because Annie definitely has mana problems. And since she's not going to get poked by the enemy laner because, you know, she's a melee laner, then it's a little less of a risk for her to skip that Doran shield and go with the cold generation item.
Yeah, if you're up against a Thresh or even like a Nami or a Lulu as a support, that the shield becomes a lot more important.
Right. And yeah, that's why it's so important for Leona too. You can see all the auto attacks that Annie's getting on her. I'm getting some damage on Teemo in the top lane, but...
Oh, I didn't notice that, but it looks like Leona flashed actually a little while ago. I don't know if that was a mistake or...
yeah, I'm not sure when that was. I didn't see that either.
We're busy elsewhere, I guess. But they are, as you would expect from a Caitlyn Annie lane, they are getting a lot of harass down on the side of Storm8. That's going to be one of the longest range bottom lanes you're going to see. Because Annie has, I believe, a 600 auto attack range. So if they can get in there and stay safe, they can get a lot of harass down. They're actually zoning Factset out now. And,
yeah, they're playing a lot of pressure.
And I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, is really great about that Annie-Caitlyn combination. So, I mean, Tristana will end up with a higher range than Caitlyn at the end, but in this beginning, it's...
Oh, top lane, we're getting a gank from Shyvana.
There's an early gank on Teemo.
Oh, and there goes a flash.
Oh, he got the flash right around the time the Kayle slow came in, but again, takes the flash. It's got to be considered a success.
Yasuo's doing a lot of damage mid, too.
Oh, he's able to go all in. Anivia was able to stay back and not burn her flash, though, so she was able to stay safe enough. Probably some of the slows. But Kayle going big onto Astrum QT here. He gets a lot of that damage, and he's going to have to go back.
Yeah, that Kayle damage is really, really strong, and Teemo wasn't able to trade with her at all.
Yes, interesting top lane. So we'll see if Kayle can pull up a minion advantage there. I will note that despite the fast push by Storm8, it looks like the bottom lanes are pretty even in terms of CS right now. Which is great. And Yasuo is actually pulling ahead of Anivia. Even though Yasuo is melee, he with his Q he can actually farm relatively safety.
Yeah, and he's applying a lot of kill pressure on Anivia. I think before Anivia gets vamped up a little bit, Yasuo's early game is very strong, especially with that shield. Probably it gives him a lot of power.
Yeah. We should note for Factset that we've had a little bit of a role reversal. Astrum QT in the top lane playing Teemo was actually Factset's support from week 1. So, and then the support from week 2, Extendo Hugs, is staying down the support role. Just a little bit of a switch in case you're watching the games and confused about some of the names. Teemo did come back with a second Doran's ring, so we'll see if he can use that to apply any pressure. We've got a buy gank mid.
Stun by Anivia.
Oh.
It wasn't enough. It was a really good stun by Anivia. She almost got a kill on Vi, but they turned around and they managed to pop the passive of Anivia, and she's just going to go back. No kills yet.
Yep. Looks like the extra Doran's ring is helping Teemo up top, getting some good damage on Kayle, although Kayle can sustain decently well.
Yeah, Kayle's heal is going to help her quite a bit, but she's probably not leveling that first. Oh, wow, Kayle had to flash. Teemo almost got her. One more auto attack and she would have been down.
Oh, I was concentrating on the bottom lane, where there's a... Extendo Hugs is taking out a ward. Pink ward's gone. It's very, very important. Gotta keep perspective here, Max.
Those wards, that's real action. Ooh, engage on the Caitlyn. On his EQ. Ooh.
So, Leona went in pretty deep and actually got a pretty good trade out of that on the whole.
Yeah, that was a good trade for Factset.
Ooh. That Anivia is actually doing pretty well with the wall. It's a wall battle here in mid.
Yeah.
Wind walls versus ice walls. Jinx.
Oh, there goes the Yasuo ult. He's going all in on her. Oh, and there's the Anivia stun. Ooh, he's got the ignite. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think she's getting out of here.
I think you're right. That was a really great stun by Anivia, just because the Yasuo will put that armor penetration down for a certain amount of time. And if you can stun him during that, you're basically wasting a little bit of it. But it looks like Shyvana's here waiting for a counter gank. Anivia's pretty low, so it's not a bad bait to get Yasuo pulled up pretty far.
Yeah, this is
especially
really
with all these
scary,
juicy
though.
minions.
Ooh.
Looks like Vi's coming from behind as well, so we'll be able to see. Oh, he successfully uses that dash to get through. Now we got a battle going up top. Looks like Kale's taking it.
Oof. First blood goes to Kale.
Oh. He actually got a good amount of damage back, but that was a lot of damage coming out of Kale with those two rings.
Damage from Kale Z is so high.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, not a bad amount of AP from two Doran's rings, so.
Yeah, definitely significant.
So if we take a quick look at the CS numbers, bottom is almost dead even. Kale's pulling ahead by about 10, not a ton. And Yasuo's doing really well in the mid lane there. Again, more than double.
Yeah.
Anivia's CS. I think that's partially because Anivia's had to go back twice now, I think, and Yasuo's been staying in lane the whole time.
Yeah, Yasuo's applied a lot of pressure mid lane. Anivia doesn't have her flash either, so she's got to be very careful.
True. And Anivia's going back again. Well, she does have that. It's interesting. She's going for that chalice, but I imagine she won't go all the way up to Athene's Holy Grail. That's usually better in a mid lane when you're going up against another AP champion who's doing magic damage. But since Yasuo's not doing that magic damage, the magic resistance doesn't help as much.
Yeah, she might get it anyway though, because I feel like it's much better than the chalice, and it does give cooldown reduction, a lot of AP, mana regen. It is a little surprising she did go for that item, but I guess it's still a pretty strong item. But you know, there isn't much AP from. Oh, we got a strong engage bot lane. Annie bursted down Tristana.
Oh, took quite a bit of damage, and I've been surprised by the amount of damage this Leona's been doing for Factset for the last two games.
Yeah.
But Tristana managed to rocket jump away.
Everyone got out alive, just barely.
Yeah, so it's a lot of damage all the way around, but it'll be interesting to see how far up they can push that bot lane. I imagine they can get it all the way to the tower and knock down some CS and get a little bit of a lead there. Yep, there they go. They're already pushed up to the tower. I believe they're gonna be able to waste quite a few of Factset's CS here and get the tower down to half.
Yep.
So we haven't seen a play for Dragon yet. Almost 10 minutes in.
I would expect something soon.
Yep.
Teemo's taking a lot of damage top lane. He's really getting hurt hard by that Kale.
Yeah, I don't play a lot of Teemo, so I can't give too big an assessment on that. But
I don't know if it's a good matchup or a bad matchup for Teemo. I think Teemo would prefer to play against the Bruiser, but
we've got somewhat of a gank coming in from Factset on the bottom here. Vi's going all in by herself.
Oh, and a dive on a Caitlyn.
Oh, I mean, Leona can take quite a bit of damage, but Caitlyn gets out with her flash. Oh,
the rocket jumped out.
Get the damage in. That reset.
Turret. You also had to flash out to dodge the turret damage.
Let's see if they can all get out alive. I mean, Shyvana doesn't have that much health, so she can't dive too well. But Kale dives in using her ultimate, using the intervention to. Oh, she didn't even use the intervention. Yeah,
she didn't quite have to. Teemo was already low, and Kale's damage is really strong. Fortunately, Teemo got off the blind at just the right moment and managed to get out of there. But he also had to flash out, and Kale didn't need to burn her ult or her flash.
Yeah, she managed to get him out, get his flash. I mean, yeah. She wasn't really in that much of a danger if she used her ultimate at the right time.
Right. But Nivia's starting to catch up on CS a little bit here with her ultimate, burning down these creep waves, and since Yasuo was going bot lane, he wasn't able to apply any pressure.
That's true, it's getting a little better. Yeah, Nivea is one of those champions I always find really interesting because her ultimate doesn't have a big impact, right? You can toggle it on and off, you can be constantly using it, but it doesn't have other than just sort of to help you, get those stuns off, it doesn't have a huge, game-changing impact like a Vi ult or a Shyvana ult or a Kale ult.
Yeah, it's not flashy, but it does a lot of damage over time if people end up standing in it.
Alright, looks like, in addition to pulling out the gold generation item first, and he's got a Sightstone and pulled out a pink ward, so she's really going for vision control there. I'm just curious how far ahead what the gold stats are. Yeah, so Annie's ahead, even though Leona has an assist, Annie is about 400 gold ahead from getting that gold generation item to start. I mean, and that that gave her a pink ward, and that's getting her one step farther on her gold generation item to pull her ahead. But looks like Storm8 is getting able to put some good damage on this turret. This is actually a really clean game in general. The teams they're not going for these crazy brawls like you see in some other games. Yeah,
this is definitely still a really close game. 16,000 to 15,000 gold.
Yeah. I'm actually really impressed by Storm8's warding here. I mean, they just expired on the top side of the map. They had a couple wards looking at the jungle entrances to Factset's jungle. Oh, looks like we're getting some action down here by the dragon. But they've got multiple wards in Factset's lower jungle, and they're really just keeping a ward line all the way across there so they can see when people are roaming or if people are trying to invade at all and going in and out. So, looks like there's a little bit of a scrap up top, but we might have some dragon action coming up pretty quickly. So Nivea gets that blue buff. That's going to really help her.
Yeah, she used all her mana to get it.
Yeah. Well, she'll get it back now, right? So she's got that Seeker's Arm Guard, which is really great. The laning phase is breaking down a little bit, but against against an AD champion, that the Seeker's Arm Guard is a really great buy.
Yeah,
for
well, there's not much AP on that team in general except for Teemo's AP, but Teemo will do some AD damage as well, so the Seeker's Arm Guard can't hurt there.
Yep.
And yeah, unless you're right, she didn't get the Fiends.
Kale is burning down that top turret a little bit, but I don't know if he's going to go for it right away. Now, again, here, Vi is going top for the gank, but he's going to walk right through that Storm8 ward, and they just back off. Again, this assertive warding is paying off for them pretty well, actually.
Oh, it looks like Storm8's going for the dragon. They've started it. Shyvana's taking it up, and...
Yep, they put some wards off to the side. Factset knows it's happening here.
It's trying to come in from the side here. I think we might get an engage.
Yep. And one thing that was really smart there. And Nivea is blocking them off.
Yep, the Vial goes down on Keelan, and the Yasuo ult follow up. Oh, and a Tibbers 3-man stun. Stuns all of Team Factset. It's really rough for them. And it looks like Vi and
2 for 2
really
so far.
Tristana can jump out, and Vi Q's out. Ooh, and the flash and our Q combo from Nivea takes down Vi.
So if we take a step back and look at that fight, it was basically Factset got 2 kills, Storm8 got 3 kills, a dragon and a tower. I mean, because the tower is kind of separate because Teemo and Kale were doing their own thing. But yeah, 3 kills on the dragon, and I think what really happened there was really smart by Storm8 was, and again, it's this warding we were talking about earlier, is Kale was pushed up top, Vi went for the gank down the river, Storm8 saw them with the ward, and that ward not only allowed Kale to back off, but with most of Storm8 on the south side of the map, it allowed them to go in, burn down the dragon, and not have any fear of Smite being used to steal.
Yep, absolutely.
So not only did they know that at worst it would be a 4v3, but it was a 4v3 where they had the only Smite. So it was, and they have the Anivia wall to block off entrance. So they knew they were in an advantageous position, and they went for it. So we got a little bit of a fight mid here. I'm not convinced much will come of it. But Anivia is throwing down those walls quite a bit. She's actually using some good positioning for them. So Teemo's up here doing some damage on the top turret. I'm not sure how much he can get down before Kale gets there.
Shyvana's heading up there too. Let's see if they can get through the mushroom field.
Yeah, Teemo did lay down a handful of those in. So looks like
Shyvana found a mushroom
a little bit. So Teemo built the Twin Shadows. That is interesting.
It's interesting. It can be a good AP item, especially it's giving him the magic resist to help lane against Kale, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And he may like the active to help him get away from Kale's slow because he can also slow Kale. But we'll see how that works out.
So Factset investing in some pink wards as well. I like that as your own tri-bush as an interesting place to drop one of those wards. A pink ward, just because if people don't go through there and check it, it'll stay for a while. We got a big fight mid. Vi and Yasuo combo going big, and they egg the Anivia, but that burnout's running.
Go down, yeah.
And it doesn't actually take Anivia down, and Vi takes enough damage that she's got to retreat.
Yeah, this was a good trade for Storm8.
Yep.
That egg working out good.
Kale decides not to go deep on Teemo. But here she comes. Oh, the flash and the slow.
Another flash from Teemo, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, she actually managed to. She pulled back and then waited until she had the cover under the turret so that she could get through. Vi and Leona going for Kale.
She's doing enough damage to take down Vi.
Ooh.
Here comes Shyvana. This is starting to get... Ooh, and the flash didn't quite make it over the wall. It looks like they're going to get Leona as well. There we go. Yep. This Kale is really doing work here for Storm8.
Yeah, 4-0. Already got the Nashor's Tooth and some cooldown reduction. She's already starting to hurt a little bit. But she's 40 CS ahead. Yasuo's 30 CS, so it balances off a little bit, but Caitlyn's a little ahead as well. And then Annie also has a Talisman of Ascension, so if we get to a team fight situation, that's actually going to help them. But with that dragon in place, it looks like Storm8 is 6,000 gold ahead at 18 minutes, which is pretty high. But I will say in general, like I do think this is a relatively clean game from both teams. Oh, Zazmash goes in deep with his rocket jump, but...
This counter engage from Storm8. Oof. Caitlyn flashes out. She's afraid of the Leona counter engage.
Yeah, so... Oh, Teemo's going in on Kale.
Ooh, does he have the damage? Oh, Kale has her ultimate.
Oh, but then the poison
goes through.
Yeah. That actually, I didn't think about that initially, but that poison damage on Teemo is actually not too bad, because even though you're not doing damage, you can stack it up and get her after it goes down.
Yep.
So Teemo's not going on down without a fight, and looks like he might be able to put some damage
on this turret. Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be able to take it down right away, but maybe the next.
I think he can make it. I think he's got enough. Nobody's coming to stop him, and Kale's not going to be up for another 10 seconds or so. So
he might be able to get on the next wave.
Yep.
He hasn't been littering the entire jungle with those mushrooms. He's basically been using them to protect himself, so he's not having quite the amount of global pressure that he could be. But we'll see after that. Now that top tower is down, see if he applies a little bit more. So even though Storm8 is pretty far ahead in gold right now, I feel like Factset still has a good chance with the right initiations. That Vi Yasuo combo on multiple people can do a lot of damage, especially if you can combine that with some multiple stun locking from Leona. But they're going to want to get a really good initiation. I think the best chance is actually for Teemo to start littering the jungle with some of those mushrooms, and then get the engage off one of those. He's actually building some magic penetration and some magic damage. But it looks like Storm8's setting a trap here, or they've got the dragon timer, and they're going for it again. Again, this is some good planning by Storm8, getting that dragon timer down and planning to be there ahead of time. That wasn't just...
Yeah, absolutely. They also have some dominant vision control here. They've got pink wards all over, and Factset's missing quite a few... Well, I feel like they need some sweepers and some pink wards, because Storm8's got wards all over their jungle here.
Yeah, basically that vision line that Storm8 started with is moving into Factset's jungle. They're basically keeping it moving with their turret line, and they're doing a pretty good job on it.
They got caught out here by Kale and Nivea, and it looks like she might go down. And we got an ult on Zazmash, and taken down by Caitlyn and Shyvana. Yeah,
that burst damage from that Annie can be pretty rough. She's got the Sorcerer's Stork Boots and a little bit of AP, but even she can do a lot of damage even without a ton of items. Especially on an 80 carry.
Strong, yeah.
So again, I think some of Factset's best plans here might be to get some of that vision control. But they've actually been doing pretty well. Yeah, that was probably a good flash to spend at that point.
Yeah.
It was like Factset's best chances to catch some people out here in the jungle. Factset's actually doing a pretty good job with the warding. There's both wards everywhere. There's not a lot of sweepers coming out. One on each of the supports, and pink wards aren't quite being used in the jungle right now. They've got that one in the bush no one will enter in the river. Yep. That little center bush that no one wants to go into ever because they've trained themselves all through season 3.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't have a lot of pink ward coverage here. But it looks like Kale's sort of split pushing that top lane. And with a pushed out mid and bottom lane, there's no reason not for Factset not to push out. But again, that ward coverage is allowing Storm8 to push, to keep it safe. But Kale doesn't really have a problem with the one-on-one, and she's got a really...
Yeah, Kale's becoming a really strong split pusher because it's taken, multiple people from Factset to go up there and stop her.
But Teemo's putting a handful of the mushrooms down in his jungle.
Yep, getting some Baron control too. It's good.
Now I'm interested to see if Annie on Storm8 has not yet upgraded her sweeper to that Oracle's lens. I feel like that's a really good buy against the Teemo. Just because after you use the sweeper, you get that basically the effect of an old Oracle's, for a number of seconds afterward, and allow you to see some of those mushrooms that are out there.
That's a great point. That would be really effective. I think also if although she does have a vision ward, so she could use that as well around the Baron pit, maybe clear out some of those wards. Or some of those Teemo shrooms, but yeah, I think the Oracle's upgrade would be really good in this situation. Let's engage on the KO, and she
wasted her flash there?
That one, she really didn't want that one.
She took a bunch of damage there. Actually, it looks like she hit a mushroom that chunked her down pretty hard. Yep,
there she goes. She placed that vision ward, and they're taking out these shrooms.
That's a good place for it.
Coming in from Vi, she ults on Anivia, and then get the combo with Yasuo. Ooh, counter engage though from Storm8, and it's working out in their favor. Ooh, they ate Anivia, but it's not enough. There's no kills so far from Factset.
2 kills onto Caitlyn, which is a really great start. I will say that Anivia threw down a wall there just as Vi initiated in to make it harder for the rest of Factset to join that fight. And I think that helped them quite a bit. She put it down right on that river entrance, which made it really... Yasuo was still able to ult in and get through, but the rest of the team wasn't able to come with.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit unfortunate there too. I think Factset, they had 3 members there, but some of Storm8's players were just a little bit closer and they were able to join the fight just a little bit faster. And that Shyvana counter engage with the dragon really kind of put a hard stop to the diving onto Anivia. And Anivia's shell stopped it too.
Yeah, and to be honest, with the dragons and the turrets, and they have an 8,000 gold lead now, which is not easy to overcome at all.
Yes, it's starting to get pretty significant. But they still have a good chance. I mean, they lost their inhibitors, so they're going to get a lot of pressure mid lane now. And as well as you're probably going to see some split pushing from Kale and Shyvana. We'll see about Shyvana, but Kale seems like she's happy to keep split pushing all game. So from builds here, we have something a little bit unusual, seeing the Vi build, the Elder Wizard and the Brutalizer. Sometimes you see a more damage-heavy build on Vi, but a lot of in the competitive games typically see more the Spirit of the Ancient Golem and then a more tanky build with Aegis Rocket, things like that. But damage is good, but it just starts to fall off late game if she can't make anything happen with it.
That's true. I think one of the reasons you see a lot of that she ends up being your tank in a lot of situations is just because she's the one diving into the enemy team, right? Her ultimate forces her to. So if you're going to be diving in, you need to be able to be protected. But I mean, she can do quite a bit of damage if she, if she can get in there safely. And this is not a terrible team, because if she can do that, and then Yasuo can get his knock up, and that can allow you to get the Leona stun, then she's not going to take quite as much damage. Now Storm8, again, they have the timer on this dragon, and they are there well ahead of time. They're clearing out some of the vision. They didn't quite get this this ward here in the river, but they're there ahead of time. Time to clear out the wards, get everyone ready, and they take the 3rd dragon. So they're really staying on top of that timer once they have control of it, which is what you want to do. They're slow playing the game. They're not pushing as hard as they can into the center. They're going for sort of domination with their wards and their timing.
Yep, I agree. I mean, they're playing the slow, calculated game, and they're really clenching the fist here. I mean, they're not really showing a lot of openings here for Factset to make plays against them.
Yep. So Kale is doing a good job here. Now, one thing interesting about Kale as a split pusher, which is kind of cool, especially if you go AP, which looks like she is with that Lich Bane. That way she can just take those towers down really quickly. But her W, the speed up, like Lulu, scales with the it scales with her AP. Oh, looks like
Nice dive on
down.
Ooh, and they cut out Caitlyn as well.
So that happened right as the tower went down, and it looks like
They went for a counter back, but Biobank got taken down.
the combination of that tower going down and the Anivia wall just made it really difficult for Factset to get away.
They
and
just keep diving.
Make it, yeah, all the way deep. Yasuo was the only one to survive.
Too. They couldn't. They didn't even get to burn Kale's ultimate, so
Yeah.
they're gonna keep diving, I think.
Yeah, and they might be able to finish off at least one inhibitor turret here. They got 15 seconds on most of Factset's team. I'm not say that Kale's a really good split pusher because her W gives her a speed up so she can get out of there when she needs to. But you could do that, or you could just get 4/5 of an ace, whatever. But it looks like that's going to be all she wrote. That that happened. That their deep dive happened right as they were getting a big wave from mid, and looks like that's all she wrote. Again, I think both teams did really well. I was really impressed by Storm8's warding. I thought that once they got push control, they cemented that with warding and timing their dragons really well. And and that's they were able to just maintain the lead they got and grow it.
Yeah, they just kept getting smaller and smaller little leads, and they kept adding up there.
Yep. I was also impressed by Anivia quite a bit. She used those walls really effectively, and she tailored her build. Like, this is a weird build to see at the end of a game for Anivia, right? The small chalice, just the Seeker's Arm Guard, and a Frozen Heart, but she was really going for what was needed at the time and not just building off a guide.
Yeah, the Frozen Heart is really smart against that comp with Yasuo having attack speed and Tristana having attack speed and Teemo. It was really strong against their composition.
Yeah. But yeah.
It was a really strong showing by Storm8. Yeah, it's very, very good. Impressive.
I did think that Factset started to do well, getting their own wards down and starting to, extend the locations of Teemo's mushrooms. But I think it was matched by, equal quality of warding and rotations by Storm8. And once they were that far ahead with the gold, as long as they did the right thing, they were able to stick together. But you have any final comments on the game here, Max?
No, good game. It was fun casting with you.
You too. We're gonna right now. That was week 3. Storm8 remains undefeated. Factset's down to 2-1, but we'll see what happens next week. We'll see you guys on Sunday. So long, everybody. Say goodbye, Max.
Right.